Hello and welcome to the Happy, Healthy, Strong podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to helping you live a happier, healthier, and stronger life. Building a life that you love starts with you owning your health and intentionally creating the best version of yourself. So if you're looking to better understand how proper nutrition, daily movement, mindset work, and strength training can help you create a life full of happiness and health, then you are in the right place. I generally hope that the tips, tricks, and information that we share will be the catalyst for change. I'm your host, Adam Lane. It's time to dive in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Happy, Healthy, Strong podcast. I'm your host, Adam Lane. With me today, the man, the myth, the legend, Coach Dan John. Dan, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks so much. This worked out well. Sorry I had to change the time on this. It just, just trying to juggle a bunch of things right now, but it's all good. Yeah, it's all good.
We make things happen.
Yeah.
All good. Dan, for the tens of people that listen to this show who might not know who you are and why you're such a big deal, tell these people who you are and why you're such a big deal.
Well, I don't know. I'm Dan John. I'm the youngest of six from South San Francisco, California, athletic military family. And in 1965, my brothers went to Sears and bought a Sears barbell set, 110 pounds, 50 kilos. And I just fell in love with progressive resistance training. I was 8? And I started lifting weights when I was 8. I started coaching in 1979, and I've written, I think number 20. My 20th book is coming out soon. I like what I do. I'm a volunteer throws coach at a local university, and I don't know, I train every day, and I have a good life. I do. Things are good. I'm happy again. So I travel the world, giving workshops on weightlifting. I do kettlebell certifications. I teach the throws, football, whatever. Yeah, I'm just kind of, and I love it. I know I really am strong in the history of weightlifting. And the nice thing about that is you're not going to get a lot of BS from me. I was with a very famous author yesterday, and we were talking about, and it's funny because he circled a page and he co-authored a book, and he used the Bruce Lee quote about, discard what's unuseful, keep what you like. And I thought it was funny when he said that, because that's exactly what my career has been. I make mistakes like everybody. The other day on a podcast, someone says, "What's the biggest mistake you made?" And I go, "The biggest mistake I've made among thousands is constantly trying to make the pull-up and chin-up work in most training programs." And I no matter what I say, it's funny that people get on me online because there's certain exercises I just hate. I don't like the burpee. Poor Royal Burpee, the inventor of the exercise, he recommended you do 4 as an assessment. I'm not a big fan of lunges. I'm not a big fan. And now I'm starting to slide over that I hate pull-ups and chin-ups too. And it's funny because I keep worrying I become the grumpy old man in the weight room. But when you answer so many questions about an exercise and people are fumbling and around with an exercise and doing it poorly and getting hurt, you kind of just sit back one day and say, well, here's an idea. Let's stop doing that. Every time I put my hand on a hot stove, I burn. I don't know how many times you need to learn that, Adam, but after about the 10th, I don't think it's the stove's fault anymore, So it takes me a lot more than 10 to figure out I'm wrong. Yeah, but things are good. I write a lot of books. I talk to a lot of people. I try to answer things fully and intelligently. And it's funny because when I say that, I feel like I'm a dinosaur. Because online now, people just want to hear, that's a bunch of crap, and why do kettlebells are worthless? Nothing's worthless, everything can be a good example, a bad example. And I'm trying I try real hard to put myself in the shoes of people ask me questions. So I give complete answers and try to make the world a little bit better. Yeah. So there you go.
There we go. Easy answer. Dan, what I love and respect with you, you came out to, we met years ago because you came out and did a workshop in Rockford, Illinois in the winter, no less, which is, God bless you for coming to Rockford, Illinois to do that in January. but it again, the perspective piece that you come with after seeing all these like crazy fad things, and I mean, I just know the members at our gym and stuff like that. And they're fantastic people, but they will be scrolling on these social medias and they will see something and they will think to themselves, "Oh man, I don't need to be doing this. I need to be doing this because look at this person in this ad. Look how healthy and fit and happy they are. You know, why would I be doing these stupid squats that Adam's programming? Why these deadlifts? This is too much work." This guy says he takes a pill and then he, spins on his head and he loses 20 pounds. So like, and long story short, a little joke, but like, I appreciate the direction that you come with this because you've seen all the fads, you've seen and like a smart person, you've adjusted some ideas on some ideas. I too love the pull up, but it is a son of a gun with some people often. And just the different progressions of different things that you can do with it. Sometimes it's a massive uphill battle that may or may not be worth fighting.
I get emails. They want to do easy strength, and I recommend vertical pulls in there because I still think there's real value for most North Americans because this movement is not going to too much push-ups, too much bench press, too many throws.
Yeah.
So this seems to be so. But I'll say, well, I don't know, do 2 sets of 5. I can't do 1. Well, then I don't know. And then they want a whole program to build up to the baseline of what we're going to try to do. So, you lose 9 months training to build up to this baseline, which very often ends up middle-aged pull-up syndrome. Their elbows start to hurt.
Yep.
And you just kind of sit back sometime and say, I just got to go back being the grumpy old man and yell at the pull-up again, I'm not changing everything overnight. I'm certainly not going to do that. But when you mentioned, I learned a lot. I remember when I first met Brett Contreras, 2003, and he told me he wanted to be the glute guy. And I just want to punch myself for not stealing that idea. But, I look, once I started, first I had to understand the hip thrust. And then once I started taking the hip thrust seriously, I threw out a lot of exercises because the hip thrust got the people I work with to what they wanted faster than a lot of the other. And my tools are good. I mean, if you want to be an Olympic lifter, my Olympic lifting tool set is very good. But that tool set to be an Olympic lifter isn't necessarily what, Edna, the mom, wants. She wants her buns back. And I could spend 6 months. I teach you the goblet squat, teach you the front squat, the overhead squat, teach you all the, Romanian deadlift, all these things. Or here, lay on this thing and go like this with your hips, and all your dreams come true. So I thank you for saying that. So I do adapt. But one of the things I try to do, and it's a concept you get from people who are declutterers, if you add something, you have to throw something out. And I find that to really be a great intellectual exercise. So if I'm going to put something in our base program, something new, that means I got to throw away something. And I've got this love affair with this silly exercise. I've loved it since 1965, and it's time to say goodbye. Time to say good. It's really hard. I have my little infants that I love in my training programs, but if something better, and usually I go this way, Adam. When I add something, I almost, of course, the way my brain works is everything always has to be, there's a system. So I err on the easiest things to teach, triumph over things that take months to teach. If something does the same job, but it's easier to teach and get people going. Now, it doesn't mean this thing we used to do is bad, because you keep that in the archives. For example, I do think that the standard powerlifting deadlift is a great whole body exercise, and it's great for the glutes. Okay, we'll just say that. But not a lot of funny, my dentist told me I should have worn a mouth guard my whole career because of all the grinding I did, But not a lot of people want to grind up big deadlifts. Not a lot of people want to, whip weights over their head. A lot of people just want to look good, feel good, move good. And so that would be the thing I've tried to do in my career. I got the original magazines. I started my career right up there, the old Strength and Health. In fact, somewhere, it's right here. This is the Sears booklet that I got when I was 1965. It's funny. And I got orange marks from things I retyped about 2 weeks ago. That's right. 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Oh, it's still a better program. 99% of the crap you see. So even though we might find something new, I do try to keep the other stuff in the background. And I think that's one of the things that's kept me sane as a coach. I'm never going to say that. There's that question that comes up. It comes up in my forum sometimes. If you could only do 3 exercises, what would you do? It's a fun question. It makes for an interesting little conversation. But more importantly for me, I'd rather people say, what are the 3 exercises you would throw out and mix them with what? But so I have a little system I use. It's called the matrix, but the final product is a matrix that it goes push, pull, hinge, squat, loaded, carry, and it ends up over here with the Olympic lifts. And then you first do them as isometrics, then you do them as what we consider traditional weightlifting, and then kind of like anti-rotation or asymmetrical exercises. And then we add speed, and then we combine the exercise. So the Olympic snatch is a hinge that is turned into a squat. Well, you have to master the hinge, and you have to master the squat, and you have to master the lockout before you do that. So that's how I do things. Now, as we slide around the matrix, if a new exercise comes in, I'll sit down with Erica, Mike Brown, Dan Quinn, some other people. There's a lot of people, and I'll just say, sometimes like you could say like the front squat is better than the hip thrust. Okay, for a thrower. Okay, great. But if I can teach the hip thrust to a freshman thrower and get that athlete up to here quickly, it's going to take us maybe 2 years to master the front squat. All right. So doesn't mean I love both. I'm no fan of either or. I love both. And so that would kind of summarize all my nonsense in the last 2 minutes or so. For me, the big challenge has been in my whole career is finding more efficient, faster ways to success. And here we are sitting here talking, and I don't know what's coming up, but something's coming up, I'll give you a good example of something that really opened my eyes. When crawls came back into exercise, crawling, okay? I'm a big fan of Tim Anderson and Original Strength. I do think crawling has a real benefit in reteaching the brain. And I noticed that especially people it was funny. People would critique other people's bear crawls. Bear crawls is the bear. For me, the bear position is if you have your hands, knees, and feet on the ground, that's the 6-point position. If you raise your knees up, that's the bear position. So if you keep your knees on the ground, you can call those baby crawls. If you bring the knees up a little bit, that's a bear crawl. And I was at a cert, and someone was correcting somebody else's bear crawl. And I thought to myself, first off, that's weird because, we're humans, by the way, do you know what bears call bear crawls? They call them crawls. And that's because old coach joke right there. But I noticed that most people, when they do bear crawls, they get corrected because when they do them, they have their toes out and they go like this. They kept getting corrected in these workshops to go like this, and all of a sudden it hit me like the people doing it wrong are right because the bear crawl is in the squat family. The bear crawl is a squat. And if you have somebody who can't squat for whatever reasons, but they can do 6-point rocks, Tim Anderson's idea, or they can bear crawl naturally, they're getting the squat movement without the load of squatting. And very often with people who are first squatting, it's their adipose tissue and untrained body is too much of a load to squat. Put them on their hands and knees and they bear crawl, and they're getting all the benefits of being on the ground and squatting without the trauma of putting it back. And it does hurt some people to put a bar on that back. And if I tell them the front squat, it hurts the wrist. And if I tell them the overhead squat, they think I'm a nutcase. So what I try to do is I try to sit back, keep my mind open, and allow information to come in. And it was interesting. I mean, some people think I'm some dinosaur, but the truth is I think I'm a real open-ended thinker. But you just got to prove to me that this new crap works.
I find it interesting, specifically within our youth program stuff, and having, well, first of all, going through COVID a few years back, a lot of these kids were in late elementary, middle school, and now they're high school, and kids have already been, less active to begin with. And then all of a sudden we throw a pandemic at them. Now they're even more less active. And we've had to regress training more than I ever thought that we would. And I love love that idea. Like, it's a race to see what's the most effective things I can do to get them from point A to point B. And it used to be, hey, follow the program. Like, hey, here it is. But some of the program, phase 1A of the program is still a little too advanced for some of these kids. So we've had to regress some things. But I absolutely love that. I think that's where, you can really meet the needs of everyone.
My dad's generation thought my group was a bunch of pansies. My mom and dad survived literally the Spanish flu, the Great Depression. And I'm okay with calling it the Great Depression. I hate it when people say, well, it wasn't that great. Oh, shut up. My dad, of course, met my mom at a USO dance before he got shipped off to the Pacific Theater, and, my mom and dad thought we were just so soft because, we could snack, and we didn't work, we didn't come home from practice and work on the farm for 2 hours. So I always caution people about thinking this next generation is not tough enough but it's also our job to meet them where they are and then lift them up or lower them down so we can lift them up, when they learn that movement. Never think regression correction is, stay out of moral theology as best you can with it. I'm not telling you specifically, Adam, but when we all need adaptions, corrections, regressions, depending, because of injuries, illness, off seasons. I'm a big fan of coming back and if I haven't seen my athletes in a few weeks and just go back to the boring basics. And so we're just starting track season. We've only had 2 meets already because of the weather. And my elite throwers are all like, what's going on? I can't believe I'm throwing so bad. Well, yeah, your brain is last year's national championship brain, but your body and all your other, your brain is trying to, you got to forget all the nonsense, And it's funny because we'll get around, early June and they'll be throwing so far and it'll be like, oh man, this is so simple. And I'd love it if they could teleport themselves back to today and just talk to themselves. It's simple because, we had 9 meets. It's simple because we had all these training sessions. Yeah, I love it. So yeah, regression, adaptation is always fine. Always good. In fact, it's always good.
Yeah. Now you mentioned early here that, living a great life, You said the phrase, I think it was you're training every day. And so, Dan, people might look at you and be like, man, I mean, he looks like he's 32, but he might be slightly older. But this guy is working out every day, training every day.
Yeah.
What does that mean for you where you're at? Pretend you might be a little older than 32.
I'm 67.
67. Jeez, look at you.
Yeah, I'm on. I got a note from Social Security a couple of weeks ago, so I'm on Social Security and Medicare. Yeah, so there you go.
Here we go. And how far can you throw the disc today?
Not as far as I used to, but I have an Olympic lifting meet coming up. So, but yeah, for me, so it's important to hear the whole thing. So I basically 3 days a week, I lift weights. Okay. And now there's with asterisks floating everywhere. Okay. And, right now I'm working since I'm writing up some supplements to a new book. So I'm doing, high rep pressing and this thing I call the armor building complex. Two kettlebells, 2 cleans, 1 press, 3 front squats. Put it down. It's your turn. I go, you go, I go, you go. So that's 3 days a week. Tuesdays, I put on a heavy vest and I put light weights in my hand and I do a heavy hands ruck. Oh, for about an hour or so. Today, as we're talking, is Thursday. Thursday is Tonic Thursday. We spend an hour doing Tim Anderson's original strength, those mobility movements. We do flexibility movements, especially for the hands, fingers, toes, and feet. Hand, fingers, toes, and feet. Okay. And some basic flexibility. Really try to open up the hips and shoulders. I've always felt that if you work on flexibility in your toes, feet, hands, fingers, you do big mobility moves for your shoulders and your hips, and some reasonable movements for the whole spine. It's better than doing really hard, freakish work on any one joint or movement pattern. So I work a little. I don't mind forcing my fingers and hands and toes and feet to really get pushed because they spend so much time, your feet in shoes. And then the big mobility moves with the hips and shoulders. And then everything else seems to come along. And funny, including your neck. We do a lot of neck nods and things like this. Saturdays, I tend to be at track meets, so I get a lot of walking in. And Sunday is a day for that long, that's the long dog walk or over here is a farmer market. You walk over to that. But I exercise every day. After every lifting session, I go for a walk. I usually carry a fairly light ruck. 10 pounds is the one I'm using now on those days. I've lost a lot of weight in the last few years. I have a new granddaughter on the way, and I've been saying for years I want to dance at my granddaughter Josephine's wedding. Well, I want to dance at Ella and Rose's wedding. So she'll be here in August. So, I'd like to be around. And that's what I'm going to try to do. And so
nice.
The walking after, I have a whole book on it called Easy Strength for Fat Loss. But walking after you lift is one of the best things you can do for body composition. And people are going to ask, well, why don't you do something high intense? Well, because if you do high intensity, in my experience, you tend to burn a lot of sugar, but you don't burn a lot of fat. And I can go through that if you want to. So, yeah. So I appreciate this conversation, by the way, just so you know. So for me, every day starts with the night before. Before I go to bed, I do my to-do list. I take my supplements. I try to sleep 8 or 9 hours every night. I drink coffee the moment I wake up. I get my work done, and then I lift weights. I go for a walk, and then protein and vegetables. And I just summarized Easy Strength for Fat Loss for you. There's my $14 book or something like that. So I just saved all your listeners $14. There's
I bought that book, John. Dan, that was a good book. I bought it. Good book.
Yeah, what I try to do with the book is overgive, and a lot of people don't want that. They say, and in fact, it's funny in that book, I think it's like too long, didn't read. I quoted my daughter, I think right away. And I just tell you what to do on the first page. But the point is, everybody who does the program and takes it seriously does really well. But I don't know, most people I know would listen to what I just said, go, that's interesting, and then just go do the same dumb stuff they've been doing, or not doing for so long. Yeah.
So you in that book you introduced the idea of reverse rucking in there. Was that the book? Reverse rucking? So I've told numerous people that, and they're like, "So you're walking backwards?" I'm like, "Oh no,
Oh,
no,
they
no,
always
no,
think
no."
that. Yeah, that's funny. That's exactly what people think. Okay, so let me explain it to you. So I've gone through, in fact, you might not know it, but the first time I met you was the beginning of my dark night of the soul. I found out in the car ride home about something bad that was going on in my life. We don't need to talk about it now, but I've had a tough couple of years. And so one of the things I decided to do it became even more clear when Tiffany died, is that I need to be around for my grandkids. I need to be around for my daughters too. And I need to be around for Adam and all the rest of you listening. So I jumped on the scale and I realized that, at that body weight, 259 makes a good Highland gamer, but you don't see a lot of, my old boss, Archbishop Niederauer, once said, go to the golf course. You'll see a lot of old men. You'll see a lot of fat men. You won't see a lot of old fat men. I thought that was a pretty powerful statement, And so I decided you just got to take care of this weight loss. So all I did was, link things together. I noticed that, since I don't even know if I intermittent fast. I love how complicated we've made the simplest thing. Every religious tradition has fasting. Folks, there's nothing new. And in the religious traditions, there's always that great phrase, first the fast, then the feast. And I'm a real believer in that and everything. You gotta spend some time in the weight room before you can go show it off in sports. You got to put the time in before you can walk out there. First the fast, then the feast. And I picked up, I knew that coffee seemed to help me with my own personal body weight loss. And then Easy Strength got me charged up just enough so that when I walked, I would see on the scale a difference. So I incorporated them in the book. And then a problem showed up. And the problem, gentle listener, is this. We'll do it big. If you weigh 350 pounds and start on a walking program, it won't take you long if you take it seriously. And I'm not talking about anything crazy. Your dietary intervention will be drink more water. And of course, I'd love to have you see a doctor, a dentist, and an eye doctor. But if you start walking, it would not shock me within 2-3 months, you would go from 350 to 320. The reason I say it is I've seen it. Now, a lot of it's inflammation. Just about anything helps. Once you get to 320, we'll maybe we'll sprinkle in another kind of intervention, maybe drinking more delicious protein shakes or whatever, whatever it is. And now you're down to 260, and all of a sudden you have your first 270, your first hard stop. All of a sudden walking isn't enough. Well, hang on. When you walked at 350, that was extremely inefficient. I mean, I don't know how inefficient you can make walking, but weighing 350 is an inefficient thing to do. Walking 2 miles. I mean, Adam, what do you weigh? So take a 140-pound barbell, that's easy. A barbell with two 20 kilos or 45-pound plates, and just go for a 2-mile walk. Just do it. It's not that heavy, but I guarantee at the end of that walk, you'll drop that weight off and look at me and go, oh my God, I had a near-death experience. I saw my great-grandfather and he said, don't listen to Dan John. But when you get to 265, so I don't want you to put on a 140-pound backpack. But so when you first start gliding down in weight, and don't worry too much at the beginning, 10, 15 pounds, don't worry about it. But once you get to about 20, you want to add, you can just take a school backpack and really just throw some books back there. And it'll get you, that's called reverse rucking. So as you lose weight, you add load. Now there is kind of a top off point where it doesn't really help anymore, but gentle listeners, follow along. So maybe at first, go for your walk, lose the weight, yay for you. When you see the weight stall, put on 5 pounds somehow. continue that. See if you if the weight scale changes, starts dropping again. If it starts to slow up, try 10 pounds. The only problem is right around 30 to 35 pounds is when this ends. But think of how many chances you have. You can go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. Frankly, once you get over, it's 15 kilos traditionally, 33 pounds. But once you get over that, you're starting to really, the load on your knees, ankles, feet, some people lower back will feel it. But once you get over 30 pounds, and you can see I'm hesitating to even say 30, right? Because even then, for a lot of people, that's too much. I'm a huge fan of Leonard Schwartz's Heavy Hands from back in the 80s. In fact, I just picked up I went to a used bookstore in Oakland, and they had a copy of it for $7. It's 170 online, so yay for me. Yeah. But Heavy Hands is when you take the 2 or 3 pound weights, and as you walk, you really pump your arms. I have a couple of people who get great satisfaction about putting ankle weights on. Of the three, I think Heavy Hands probably is the best way to go, but you kind of look like a dork. So, you have to be like me. You have to not care what people think. If you do, don't do that. Rucking is probably, no, with Heavy Hands, you can go 2 or 3 pounds per hand. With rucks, you got to start off with 5 to 10 pounds right away. Now, of course, it's also centered and balanced, so it's easier. Ankle weights, the problem with ankle weights is almost universally we have rubbing issues because ankle weights tend to slide, and it always seems to end up that the metal buckle gets on the top of that foot ankle intersection and leaves a groove there. But ankle weights, if you have any kind of hip issue or any kind of gait, G-A-I-T issue, ankle weights will force you to walk more like a cross-country skier. With those groove, it'll tend to make you walk with a better groove. So if you do waddle naturally, or maybe your gait pattern, like before I got my hips taken care of, my gait pattern was like this. When I put on ankle weights, it really hurt because it was forcing me to walk with straight feet. So reverse rucking sounds complicated, but basically, as you lose weight, you add weight, and then once you get to 30, then slide over to do like I do on a couple days a week. A couple days a week, I'll put on the lighter vest. I probably have 5 vests. I'll put on the 10, and I'll use 2 or 3 pound weights. And what's nice about that, when I get to the house, my armpits stink. I've got a wet glow on my face, but I can still have a conversation. And if I do it right, I get ravenously hungry, which is a nice indicator. Interesting thing. There's two days a week where we get hungry. The hungriest by far is the tonic Thursday. That's the day where we do mobility, flexibility, and those kinds of things. When we're done, all of us are freakishly hungry. So the tonic day, for the listener, tonic comes from the same root word as tune, like you tune a violin. So I think of tonic day as a tune-up, okay? It's interesting because the word gin and tonic, they were trying to figure out a way to get, the British were trying to figure out a way to get their soldiers to drink quinine when they were in India with the malaria problem. So I guess the sergeant came up with the idea of mixing gin with tonic water, which is loaded with quinine. And that drink became the engine to get the people to drink to drink the quinine. I just find that an interesting, funny little. It's just like one of those stories. It's like even if it's not true, I don't care. I still love it, So it's a tonic day. The second day is the ruck heavy hands day. Is because when you get done, your heart rate is usually in a reasonable number. You can still talk while you're doing it. Yet when you get back, and that was the secret of heavy hands, is the total body. He later called it pan aerobics, everything working at once. And when you do pan aerobics, you also find that certain things like your heart rate, it seems like it should be higher, but it's not. And I always think that's a good sign. Yeah.
So I messed around with this a little bit because I love the rucking thing, and I got my Go rucksack and, all the plates and the things and spent some money with that. And not that this is surprising, probably went too heavy, too hard, too fast, too quick, too soon. Because it was really fun. And it's something I could go with my wife and we could walk the dogs, or we could just have our time, or we could, go out to the dog park. It was extremely, I take my kids out to soccer practice, and, all the other parents are just like sitting there in their lounge chairs. I'm like, well, I'm going to go ruck. I got my rucksack and I'm doing laps, and it was great. Then little things would like pop up on me, little back things. Like my knees are kind of like, 250. But for hour 45 and sometimes faster. And Peter Attia was doing like a little joggy thing with it, which you can't really run like a normal human. And then I
do not recommend that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and just, it was, the pounding was something. And I can't remember if it was in easy strength for fat loss, or if I just heard you say it somewhere, but you mentioned the hand weights and the ankle weights, and I started messing around with that stuff, and I was amazed with just the different stimulus that kind of came at me. Gait definitely different, because I felt like I'm walking like a duck now. Like this is odd, but like I had to focus and get it, and it was good. It was different. And then the arm, there's something about like that like anti-rotation piece, like as you're walking, kind of looking like a weirdo. But again, I'm 44 and I don't care. So like, who cares? Who cares? I don't. But man, it was something like, oh, this is something different. And even to combine that, go with a light rock with the hand weights was definitely something. So I absolutely love all that stuff. It was amazing how simple, because it took me back. I had ankle weights back in the 80s, and like nobody has been using them. And then I found some cheap ones on Amazon, and it was super easy.
Yeah. And that's, I think you've done it. So I would say you made a mistake going too heavy. I would say that, but kind of, give yourself some grace and space here and just say, okay, well, let's go 15s. And I think I'm a big believer in progressive resistance exercise. I mean, that is some, but reverse rucking is progressive resistance exercise. As you lighten up, you add load, and it's and the mistake you might make, and at 210, frankly, you said 50, right? That's a big hunk that's a quarter of your body weight, and change, but that's a big load. And so I err on going lighter. I also picked this up. I got to be, in this day and age, I got to be careful about who I got it from, but I got it from the Israeli Defense Forces, where they recommend much lighter rucks than what we would see in the United States. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think some of my motivation is I saw some Jocko Willink video, and I love Jocko. I'm like, and he's literally like running up boulders in San Diego he either had 70 or 80 on his back. And I'm like, wow, that's like, Jocko's a little older than I am. Like maybe I should get to that. And I was okay until I really started trying to like do that hybrid run thing. And that was too much. And yeah,
when I'm on the bases and I see the guys doing that, I'm always like, I get it. Maybe you're in selection or something like that, and you're trying to impress the sergeant or something, but long term, you're going to pay a high price for those joint injuries. And always remember, you got to be careful about watching what other people do, because we don't always get the whole story. I remember when the internet first came out, this person was always telling us all this stuff about, the reason he's so lean and all this stuff. And then he accidentally mentioned one time that he was on hormonal replacement therapy. And I just remember he shut his site down right after, because people were outraged. I thought it was the fact that you didn't eat potatoes, is that you were so lean. Because, if you're on drugs, you can get away with a lot. until you die. And then, then you're the biggest body in the coffin. Yeah. But so just always be a little skeptical what you see. And the other thing you got to be careful on, gentle listeners, is I'm never going to show you a workout, a normal workout, ever. You're never going to see me doing a Tuesday workout. Never. You're only going to see that one where I'm pulling up the national record. I got some videos on my Instagram or YouTube of me breaking the American record. Another one is me winning the caber toss at the Pleasant Highland Games. You notice you don't see my Monday workout when I'm jet lagged, from a trip, and I'm just like going, oh, the weights are heavy today. So remember, you're only watching self-selected materials. And I tell you, working with collegiate athletes who are very smart until it comes to something that's simple, and I'll say that to them and they go, oh yeah. I'll say, do you ever just post an ugly picture of yourself? No. Trying to, if I took one picture of my my female throwers and posted it, I would have a mutiny. I got to take 75 pictures and it has to be approved. Otherwise I will be hit by a javelin at practice, So yesterday I posted a picture of me and Bill Gifford, the author of Spring Chicken, a marvel, one of the best books I ever read about longevity. And it's funny because the person taking the shot goes, I took like 12 pictures of you. And I'm like, I just asked, and then I had to remind myself that in this day and age, taking a picture is like, a picture? Oh, my stars. I come from an older generation where we used to have a thing called photos. And I keep photographs of my daughters and, all that throughout But now you can when I was young, this will scare some of your listeners, but mom would take a picture and then after she finished taking all the pictures in the roll, she would take it to a place and wait 2 weeks for them to develop it. And then we'd go home and open up the pictures. And my mom never threw away any photo, ever. It could be a picture of somebody's foot, and on the back it would say, Dad's foot, 1959. And now, and it's just that, and it's not grumpy old man here. It's just me saying, you got to realize that in this day and age, you're looking at maybe for a workout, maybe if I said 6, 7, 8 takes on a video, I do one and done. Even if I stutter or say something stupid, we're done. I don't care. I'm just showing an exercise. I'm not trying to win, the Miss Universe contest, which by the way, I'm angry. I never did win the Miss Universe contest. Politics. I know, but I'm starting to lose my figure. And I have no talent, so I can't sing or anything. Yeah. So when we talk about these things and the influence of the social media stuff, you have to also remind yourself of what you do with social media or what we all do. I'll post pictures sometimes. My mom died in 1980, and I'll post a picture, and it's obvious it's not a great picture, but in 1980 we had photos, and I take a picture of the photo, and that's what you get. So it's a good reminder for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm amazed how we coach a lot of the youth kids and stuff like that. And obviously sadly the social media thing is such a big thing within their entire life. And it scares the bejesus out of me. And I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old, and they are nowhere close to it. There's no phone. There's no like that we're going to ride that pony as long as we can. But we see all the issues that come with, kids just like, oh, look at that. I don't look like that. Why don't I, both girls and guys, I think it messes with everybody. But then I think working up the chain, and you just mentioned it, the adults, people who should just be, we should be comfortable in our skin. We are who we are. We're halfway through this thing we call life. We're coming down the hill. Like, who cares, how many likes this blankety blank post got made. And it's interesting because I think it causes as much anxiety, depression, craziness in adults that should have it together versus, even the kids. And I appreciate you saying that, because I think sometimes you don't think about that. You see that one highlight of the greatest lift they ever had, and you didn't see all the billion fails before that.
Well, I always talk about those. I in a couple of my books, I've ranted about sports montages in movies. You got the team and no one's getting along, and then all of a sudden the coach says something and the team looks at each other, they all nod, black guy high fives white guy, and all of a sudden now we're a team. Next scene, championship game. I told my athletes today that I invented the high five. But in real life, there's no highlight montages. I mean, it's a slog. And it is, there are, I've said for a long time, I break workouts into fifths. So 3 out of 5 workouts, you just show up, get the job done. No one cares, right? 1 out of 5 is pretty good. 1 out of 5 sucks. It's terrible. Here's the thing. I work out 5 days a week. I train 5 days a week. Okay. The other days are the walks and, whatever I count that. So 5 times 52 is what, 260, I think it is, right? So I have 260 workouts a year. Let's just go to 250 because the math is easier. 250 workouts a year. Of those, 150 are, okay. 50 are like, that sucked. 50 are pretty good. Of those 50, 10 workouts are pretty good. Of those 10 workouts that are pretty damn good, 2 of those workouts I'm going to put on Instagram. And I'm just being honest. So basically statistically, 1 out of 125 of my workouts, I tell you about. 1 out of 125 I brag about. Usually it's an American record or some kind of thing, or, me getting ready. So, I get so many likes when I post a picture of me at a weightlifting meet just before I lift. I don't get a lot of likes when they see me lift because I look horrible, but right before I lift, I got that look, I got the hair, I got the singlet, looking good, that one, 2, 3 weightlifting meets a year, 3 highlighted pictures, lots of likes. Rest of the time, I don't really do very much. Yeah. I have some friends online that put up the same picture of themselves. I would say in one case, every 3 weeks, it's a picture of her in a bikini. It's the same bikini shot, and she's tan. So, where she lives, that can only happen certain times of the year. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying this is just part of the warning,
Yeah. Yeah. It's an odd world that we currently live in. It's interesting don't know. Coach, I want to be respectful of your time. What did we miss? What do you wish I would have asked you? What do you wish we would have talked about that we didn't?
No, actually, it's pretty good. The thing I would constantly remind people is that in the field of strength conditioning, since nothing new has come up since then, outside of anabolics. Well, though they were around in the 50s, but not for sports. Amphetamines were around before. But outside of drugs, almost everything we know about weightlifting was true in the 1950s. Heidegger's book, The Physiology of Strength, came out in the English translation in 1961. It had been around for a long time. The research is from the 30s, 40s, and early 50s. You read through that book. When I read about people saying, yeah, you try vitamin D, that's Heidegger's book, The Studies from the 1940s. The difference between women and men in the weight room, 1940s research. Taking time off and coming back, how quickly you regain strength. There's nothing new. It's ancient stuff. So one of the things I want you to realize is that there are some good resources. He died the week I was born. His name was Harry Pascal. And of course, I can never find his books because I don't know where. I just redid. So this is mine. So that's. So those are by the way, and then there's my high school helmet, football helmet.
Oh, there you go.
So
Spartans.
I just cleaned up my office, and I resorted all my books, but I'm so used to going, oh, but so it's back there. Harry Pascal died the week I was born, and he's the one who's famous for Bosco, Bosco. And I know you know it. He's the guy with the saucy mustache. His waistline is this big. He's massive, usually doing alternating presses, And I have all of his books, and I have a lot of his other writings too. And I look at this stuff. In fact, do you want to see something? I think I'll stay. So I'm going to show you my bathroom. Now I know that's weird, folks, but just stick with me. There's my chessboard.
I liked your Connect 4 over there too.
Yeah, I'm a big for coaching coaches. I use Connect 4 a lot. And there's all the Olympic Games. Here's my sauna. Here's more. I try to do multiple times a week, but okay, here's my bathroom. I don't know how well you can see it, but that's Bosco's program 1. This is my favorite. Can you see it okay? So the warm-up is continuous clean. We would call it now clean and press, curl, row, bench press, squat, and then this chest stretch. There's one of my books in case you ever wonder what happens to it. And then this is his muscle molding program. And then this is his bodybuilding 4 program. They're all done with dumbbells. They're all done with barbells. They're all simple. Here's my dog because he knows it's time to eat. They're all done with barbells and dumbbells and simple equipment. And there's nothing fancy about anything. It's all basics. It's you get in, you get strong, you go home. And I love that stuff. So I guess the thing, if there's something we missed, just make sure that people know that, especially in our field, the advice your grandmother might have gave you about nutrition is probably pretty good. Even my mom warned us about candy and soda. If I said my mom told me candy and soda was bad, how many of you would sit and listen and go, "Oh my God, she was a health freak"? Nah, she was a mom. She had this. I don't know. I got to be careful because she died when I was kind of younger, but she used to say if it hasn't happened by 10 o'clock, it ain't going to happen. And I always wonder what she meant by it, but she believed that you should be in bed by 10, and it's funny. It's advice I still take. I mean, if I'm up past 10, I'm like, who do you think you are? How are you going to recover from this? Yeah.
My mom's line was nothing good happens after midnight. And so that was, that's the curfew. She was telling Anna, nothing good. You're home at midnight. Nothing good happens after midnight. Yeah. Yes, Mom.
So much of what I preach and teach is stuff that you would find in the early 1960s, the 1950s. But the problem is in the fitness industry, because of the supplements, because of the quick, I know of blessed memory, Suzanne Summers had that Thigh Master, and she said in an interview one time about how much she made from it. I don't know. I have yet to meet a person who has come up and said, the Thigh Master was a game changer for me. But you can, there's a place over here called Ross Dress for Less. And I go there every January to buy ab wheels, medicine balls, all kinds of equipment at a cheap price. Because by late January, they're on the for sale bin again, I think the ab wheel is a great piece of equipment. There's very, very, very new under the sun. And, but that doesn't mean I'm a Luddite. We're talking on a, pretty cool thing right now, but the key for most people, and you mentioned this before we even started, I know people get bored when I say, let's review easy strength for fat loss. Ready? Before you go to bed. So eat dinner, don't snack, make your to-do list, make your coffee for the morning, get 8 or 9 hours of sleep, drink coffee, lift weights, go for a walk, eat protein and veggies, have a couple protein veggie meals in a day, and anything else you feel like, don't make it too complicated. And repeat. And I say, for me, it's 5 by 52 weeks a year, 5 days a week. I'm 67. I'm still, I don't want to brag, but I'm freakishly strong, not just for a 67-year-old, but for a 27-year-old. My neighbors still ask me to move stuff, even though, they're young kids, and I'm active. And really, I tell my athletes this, the fundamentals are the key. The basics are the key. Superior performance comes from, mastering the basics. If you talk to the elite military people, they'll tell you the exact same thing. Elite fighter pilots will tell you the exact same thing. It's the old joke the late John Powell used to tell me. The secret, there is no secret. The secret is buy low, sell high. And then somebody would say, that's not a secret. I know. There are no secrets to throwing far. There are no secrets to, everybody knows it. It's the doing. And I tell, I have this group called the Inner Circle. And I say the hardest thing about working with you guys is that only 1 out of 20 Americans actually exercise. Okay. I don't care what the survey said. We know from other research that's true. 1 out of 20 people, according to my dentist, floss. So you can be a 1 out of 20 in America by just simply flossing your teeth every day. 1 out of 20 Americans read, and the number of books is stupid low. I mean, it's like only more than 2 or 3 books a year. It might be 2. I mean, it's nothing. So you can be extraordinary by flossing your teeth, exercising, and eating a damn vegetable at every meal. You can be extraordinary. The problem with the people I work with, they're the 1 out of 20 who are the 1 out of 20 who are the 1 out of 20. So, and they always tell me, everybody in my family asks me about exercise, and I give them all this great advice, and they don't do any of it. Right. They're not the 1 in 20s. They're the 19 out of 20. And I got to tell you something funny. My friend Patrick is reminding me about the importance of being kind, Adam. And so I'm trying to be kinder, but a couple of months ago I said, I'm not going to work with the 19 out of 20 anymore. It's the Murtaugh law. I'm too old for that stuff. He said, stuff. How I Met Your Mother. I'm too old for that stuff. I'm too old to try to convince the 19 out of 20 to exercise. I work with who shows up. I help those people who show up and want to improve. And that's the price tag to my gym. It's free. You just got to show up.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I can't tell you how frustrating it is. And this is like when you want it more than your person does, more than your athlete does, or the kid or, the adult that, oh yeah, I'd like to lose weight. And then, you're working out 5 days a week, 50 weeks, 52 weeks a year. I'm thrilled if our people can do 3 days a week, 50 weeks a year, like that, which I'm still okay with. That's 150 workouts in a year. Like we're doing some really good things. But then all of a sudden life gets a little hard, and then things happen, and then all of a sudden they disappear for 8 weeks. I'm like, oh, that was great. We took 2 steps forward, and now we took 3 steps back, and now we're, right where we were, which it is what it is. We'll meet you where you are, but it's a lot of rinse and repeat because we're already here.
Yeah. And it is the joy of working at the collegiate level with athletes. I don't know how much time you have, but, I work with the high school kids. When I worked with the high school kids, and kids would come out because it looked good on their school applications. And
be involved in a sport.
The schools, the funny thing is the schools see through that now, now they ask for little things like, were you any good? I told my daughter, Lindsay, I always have on your resume that you're the state shot put champion. She's not very tall, but she, God bless her, she won the state. And I said, and she goes, why? I go, because everybody knows what the shot put is, and you don't look like a shot putter. That's going to crack open. And she's never not gotten a job she's applied for. And, but this idea of participation versus, attempting to improve performance is hard for me, because I feel like if you're going to invest your time, treasure, and talents into something, you should get something from it. You should, something should happen. Yeah. Some kind of improvement. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that I used to teach 7th grade math, and I coached track and field and cross country and basketball. But I was the distance coach and the pole vault coach. I was the distance coach because I did the triathlon thing pretty hot and heavy years on years and years ago. But then I was the pole vault coach because no one else wanted it. So it's like, I guess, sure. And I watched every Jan Johnson video under the sun.
Jan, yeah.
Who I absolutely love. And then every summer he would come out to Stevens Point, Wisconsin. I don't know why. He had some connection there, but put on a phenomenal 3-day clinic and brought my kids up there every year. And they were exhausted. 3 days of vaulting. Oh my God, you can't move your body. Like it just, but so much fun. And then when we started the gym, I transitioned out of teaching in the gym thing, and we work with a club volleyball group. And I think they really do a nice job of finding that balance, because some of the club stuff can get absolutely insane and crazy, and it just be a money grab. And I think they do a phenomenal job of developing, which I appreciate. But these kids want it; they want to be here. It's different than when I was coaching high school, and we had a few of those kids that were like killers, that were dogs, and we had other people that, this is a resume thing. I'm going to go out for track because I want to lose some weight, and I'll just run and it'll be good. And it's been nice over these we worked with this club for 7 years now, and they're to really work with kids who just, they're the 1 out of 20. And it's been a lot of fun to, actually, because I'm like you, I'm with you. I don't think I can put up with a 19 out of 20 at this point.
Yeah, I'm too old for it. Yeah, I'll be at a party very soon, and someone's going to ask a question, and I'll give them, thousands of dollars of intellectual property and experience, and it won't last. They won't stick in their brain long enough for them to walk down the hall. Yeah, but that's you do what you can do. Yeah.
No, Coach, I love your just take on things. I love after, what would this be? 59 years of lifting weights that, like, some philosophies and things have changed like that, but you're able to look back and find the important things and work some things through and yada, yada. And in this world where there's so much information, excessive information, the idea of health and wellness and being happy and healthy and strong is in my world the most important thing. And I don't know, I love what you do. I love the work. I love the 20 books. I haven't read all 20 books, but I got at least half done. But no, I appreciate you taking the time here.
Look how many languages we have now. We have, these are all different languages. Yeah. It's weird. I tell you, gentle listener, when you get your own work in a different language, and like I'll recognize things, but I have no idea what they're talking about. It's fascinating. Yeah.
I just assumed you were multilingual.
Yeah, good. That's a good assumption. Well, and some of them, like whether or not you count this one as a book or not, that's up to you. It's a 51-page free booklet. It's on the website, but some of them, there's some of them are. A couple of those books sent my daughters through college. Yeah, so yeah, good stuff. Yeah.
There you go, Coach. If people want to find out more about you and the books and all the things, and obviously those 2 posts on Instagram a year, the best ones.
Yeah, what I would say, the best place to find me now, danjohnuniversity.com. That's my website. It's a paid membership. I apologize, but I guarantee just from the downloads and the workout generator, it'd be worth the month or months, whatever. I have an Instagram account called Coach Dan John. It's, it's fine. And then my YouTube account, there's almost 3,000 videos up there now. And,
jeez, you are quite the influencer.
Dan John Strength Coach, I think it's Dan John Strength Coach. Yeah. So yeah, and the problem is people will look at a video I did like 12 years ago and say, I can't hear it. Well, good. I can't fix it.
It was a little tougher back then.
It was. Just look at the amount of gear I have right here. Let's see, right? Just the amount of gear I have for my podcast. It's, I've got all kinds of stuff, back there. Enough. Thanks so much, Adam.
Coach, I really appreciate your time. Listeners, thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next one. That's all we have for you today. If you have any questions or want to chat or interested in seeing what we're up to in between episodes, head over to Instagram and Facebook and follow @OakStrength. Also check us out at oakstrength.com. If you like this episode, please share it with someone who wants to live happy, healthy, and strong. If you really liked it, subscribe and review the Happy, Healthy, Strong podcast on iTunes or Spotify. Be sure to tune back in next week and remember to keep owning your health.